everyone. My name is Natasha Jones, and I'm a legal assistant on the Government Advisory Team at CS Global Partners. And we are a leading legal and marketing consultancy firm specialising in citizenship by investment. And today I will be talking about the due diligence trends in the investment migration industry. And I will start by discussing the Caribbean citizenship by investment programs, and I will move on to discuss citizenship by investment programs outside of the Caribbean. So having a robust due diligence mechanism is a necessary component of any successful citizenship by investment program, because high-level vetting ensures that only applicants with clean background and clean source of funds can obtain citizenship. And the Caribbean is a region that has been leading the way in terms of its due diligence for a number of years because of its multi-layered approach to due diligence and the number of entities involved in the due diligence process. For example, authorized agents who help with the document gathering process, the citizenship by investment unit, independent due diligence firms, and law enforcement and intelligence agencies. So starting with the authorized agents assist applicants throughout the application process, and they are the only entities that are licensed to submit completed applications to the citizenship by investment unit, which is the body that processes applications in the Caribbean. So more specifically, agents perform the initial layer of due diligence by conducting know your client checks, including using the World Check database, and they submit their findings to the citizenship by investment unit along with the application. They also ensure that applications are only received by the citizenship by investment unit if they contain all the application forms and supporting documents completed to the required standard. And they also ensure that those applications contain the required fees, including the due diligence fees that cover the cost of due diligence performed internally by or externally in partnership with the citizenship by investment unit. So I said that the authorized agent plays a role in ensuring that all application forms and supporting documents are completed to the required standard. And this is important because application forms and supporting documents facilitate the due diligence process. And authorized agents will ensure that all supporting documents are submitted in their original form or are submitted as certified copies of the original, and that they have been authenticated as such by a notary or another authorized person. They will also ensure that those supporting documents have been legalized. And they ensure that supporting documents are either in English or translated into English by a certified translator, as the case may be. They also play a role in ensuring that forms and certain supporting documents are in date, because certain supporting documents are only valid for a specified period. For example, criminal records and medical certificates are usually only valid for around 3 months. And the supporting documents that are submitted as part of this process include, but are not limited to, copies of all passports and IDs held, birth certificates, university and college diplomas, original criminal records, and source of funds documents. And these all help to build a picture of who the applicant is. And similarly, application forms ask a number of exploratory questions that help the citizenship by investment unit to establish who an applicant is. And they will ask questions about an applicant's identity, an applicant's family, their education history, and their employment history. So once authorised agents submit applications to the Citizenship by Investment Unit, internal checks are then conducted by Citizenship by Investment Unit staff. And the unit staff is made up of experts in document review, anti-money laundering, and counter-terrorism financing. And unit staff, similarly to what the authorised agents do, they review all application forms and supporting documents against the unit's requirements, but they also check that the information provided in the application forms is consistent with the information in the supporting documents, and they will flag any inconsistencies that they find. They also perform open source checks on all applicants, including dependents. And open source checks encompass things like checking search engine results, Google Maps, and census data. So as well as these internal checks, Citizenship by Investment Unit staff also forward citizenship by investment applications to independent due diligence firms. And all Caribbean citizenship by investment nations mandate the use of these independent qualified firms who conduct further checks on applicants. And this stage of the due diligence process is particularly important because these external firms perform on-the-ground checks to verify all of the information provided in the forms and supporting documents. So this means conducting site visits, even knocking on doors where appropriate in a discreet manner. External firms also check a number of wanted and sanctions lists to see if the applicant or any of the dependents are featured on these lists, and they eventually produce a report that helps the Citizenship by Investment Unit to establish things like an applicant's identity, their background, their source of funds, and any political exposure. And that report is used by the Citizenship by Investment Unit to make a final recommendation to the Minister on whether an application should be approved, denied, or delayed for cause. Now, as well as forwarding applications to external due diligence firms, Citizenship by Investment Unit staff also forward applications to the Joint Regional Communications Centre arm of the CARICOM Agency for Crime and Security. And the JRCC provides an additional layer of security that is unique to the Caribbean citizenship by investment nations. And all applications that are forwarded to the JRCC are cross-checked against the regional watchlist database, Interpol databases, and checks are also performed with or by partner governments, including the governments of Canada, the United Kingdom, and the United States. And all applications that are flagged by the JRCC will be denied by the Minister. So as well as this multi-layered system of due diligence, Caribbean citizenship by investment nations also implement a number of other safeguards that help to ensure the protection of their programmes. And these safeguards include banned nationalities and deprivation of citizenship provisions. So Caribbean citizenship by investment nations implement bans on persons originating from nations in which on-the-ground due diligence would be difficult to perform adequately. So some Caribbean nations, such as Antigua and Barbuda and Dominica, implement qualified bans, whereas other nations, such as Grenada, St. Kitts and Nevis, and St. Lucia, implement outright bans. So to explain this in a bit more detail and to give an example, in Dominica, which is a nation that implements qualified bans, as you can see on the slide, citizens of Iran, North Korea, and Sudan are ineligible to apply under the programme unless they have lived outside of the country for the last 10 years, have no substantial assets there, and have not performed any business or similar activity in or with the country. On the other hand, in St. Kitts and Nevis, citizens of Afghanistan, Iran, and North Korea are ineligible regardless of their place of residence. So as I said, Caribbean citizenship by investment nations also implement deprivation of citizenship provisions to allow citizenship to be taken away from economic citizens in certain circumstances. So, for example, in the Caribbean, a person may be deprived of their citizenship if citizenship is found to have been obtained by fraud or similar means. So, for example, if an applicant is found to have lied in their application form. Also in the Caribbean, a person who obtains citizenship under the real estate arm of a relevant programme will be deprived of their citizenship if they sell real estate before the expiry of the minimum hold period. So these are just some other safeguards in place in the Caribbean to ensure that applicants are abiding by the rules of the programme. So moving away from the Caribbean, in well-established jurisdictions outside of the Caribbean, such as in Europe and in Oceania, there is now a trend towards improving due diligence standards. For example, Malta's individual investor programme ended in September 2020 because it reached its application cap and has subsequently been replaced by an altogether new citizenship by investment offering that is enshrined in Malta's granting of citizenship for exceptional services regulations. And in these regulations, greater emphasis is placed on due diligence. So, for example, due diligence fees for the main applicant have been increased to €15,000, up from €7,500, and this reflects the fact that 2 external due diligence reports are now produced per application. Also in Malta, an emphasis has been placed on ongoing monitoring of economic citizens for 5 years after citizenship has been granted. However, this is mainly to monitor whether an applicant is still holding their real estate. So as you can see, there is this greater emphasis that's been placed on due diligence. Also in Oceania, in Vanuatu, due diligence fees have recently been increased from $2,000 to $5,000, and this reflects the fact that provision has now been made for the performance of external due diligence by a specialist firm, like in the Caribbean. And the reason for this greater emphasis on due diligence is because, unfortunately, in certain areas of the world, the citizenship by investment industry has had to suffer the consequences of lax due diligence procedures in the past. And a few mishaps do have implications for the industry as a whole. For example, in Cyprus, in late 2020, the Cyprus Investment Programme was abolished after an investigative series by Al Jazeera revealed that Cyprus had granted citizenship to individuals in contravention of the rules and due diligence protocols of the Cyprus Investment Programme. And unfortunately, that led to the abolition of the programme. And now established citizenship by investment nations are starting to step up to ensure that such failures don't happen again. And this trend towards increasing due diligence is definitely a positive step forward for the industry as a whole. So that brings me to the end of my presentation. And just to give you a little bit of information about CS Global Partners before I finish, as I said, we are a legal and marketing consultancy firm specialising in citizenship and residence by investment. And at CS Global Partners, we focus on programmes that we believe bring win-win solutions both to governments and prospective citizens alike. And at CS Global Partners, we are trusted advisors to clients from all over the world, and we help to assist them to evaluate their residency and citizenship options and really tailor our advice to help them find the second citizenship or residence solution that will work for them. So that does bring me to the end of my presentation. I hope this was helpful. If you do have any questions, we do have delegates in the event today, and we do hope to connect with some of you, answer any questions, and learn more about the other companies at this event too. So thank you for listening, and I hope to speak to some of you a little later on.